the AA Daily Reflections for May 8th. All of AA's 12 steps ask us to go contrary to our natural desires. They all deflate our egos. When it comes to ego deflation, few steps are harder to take than 5. But scarcely any step is more necessary to long-time sobriety and peace of mind than this one. That's from 12 and 12, page 55. After writing down my character defects, I was unwilling to talk about them and decided it was time to stop carrying this burden alone. I needed to confess those defects to somebody else. I had read and been told I could not stay sober unless I did. Step 5 provided me with a feeling of belonging, with humility and serenity when I practiced it in my daily living. It was important to admit my defects of character in the order presented in Step 5. To God, to ourselves, and to another human being. Admitting to God first paved the way for admission to myself and to another person. As the taking of the step is described, a feeling of being at one with God and my fellow man brought me to a resting place where I could prepare myself for the remaining steps toward a full and meaningful sobriety. I love the first sentence. All of AA's 12 steps ask us to go contrary to our natural desires. They all deflate our egos. Everything for me goes back to step 4, because step 4 talks about instincts. And basically that tells me if we're facing difficult times, if we're not working the steps and we're kind of going off of what we think or how we should act, those instincts that are mentioned 19 times in step 4 basically talk about how every emotional issue we have is because of misguided instincts. So that sounds scary to a lot of people, but to me, it gives me reassurance. Because 1, there's no shame in being a drunk. I used to think that it was something that I did wrong, or it's because I was weak. But the second time, maybe it's the third or fourth time, I did a step 4 after my most recent relapse was about 7 years ago. I realized something. I was instinctually screwed up at my base, at my core level. And it wasn't a question of weakness. It was just a question that I was different than most normies that, aren't alcoholics. So that immediately took the shame out of the disease. And I think it really opened me up to being, okay, well, we know what the problem is now. Did I have something to do with the problem? Absolutely. Can I hammer my way out of this, pick myself up by my bootstraps, get better on my own? Is it because I'm too weak that I can't do this? No, absolutely not. It's because my instincts were screwed up. And when I see natural desires, that tells me instincts. They all deflate our egos. I think this is another important thing. When I'm in tune with the universe and I understand that God is in charge and not me, that my only responsibility is to, work as hard as I can in a direction that I think God wants me to go, and then leave the rest up to God. And if I'm going in the wrong direction, in my experience, God kind of taps me back into the direction that I'm supposed to be heading. But scarcely any step, talking about step 5, is more necessary to long-term sobriety and peace of mind than this one. Yeah, because I think this is the first time we really ripped the Band-Aid off as far as self-awareness. And we take a look at the ugly behaviors that I know in my life I would explain it away as having good intentions. I would explain it away as, I'm a good person. Deep down, I'm still a good person. And in talking with a sponsor and really working this step and going to a lot of meetings and hear other people speak, which is, to me, actually God talking to me through other people, I found out that it doesn't matter how I feel about myself. It doesn't matter really how I feel about anything. What matters is action, and what matters is what is tangible and real and measurable. And what is measurable or trackable is behaviors. In business, if you're doing something, I'm a YouTuber, obviously. Not on this channel. I don't make a living on this channel. But when I make videos on my other channel, I get statistics, and I can look at those statistics and I can track them. I can see what am I doing right and what am I doing wrong. is this metric getting better? For instance, there's a 30-second retention rate on a video. The higher that retention rate, generally, the better the video is going to do. And the retention rate means if 1,000 people start watching my video, how many of them leave, or what percentage of them leave in the first 30 seconds. An average retention rate for me is about 60%. So if I'm putting out a video that has a 70% retention rate, which is a 10% improvement, which is a pretty big deal for YouTube, it means I'm doing something right. And then the only thing I have to do is look back at the videos that have a higher retention rate and find the similarities. And once I find the similarities, well, then that's what I'm supposed to do. And then I implement that on the rest of my videos. And then I look and I see, hey, did this improve things or did it not? If it improved things, it means that's the right direction or the right strategy I should be taking. And the same holds true with me in AA. Once I implement certain behaviors and I can track, well, what's been going on in my life, do I feel, I guess this is where feelings can have a bit of a important role in my life. Have I felt less anxious? Have I been kinder to others? How many amends have I had to make? If I've implemented something different with prayer and meditation, if I'm doing something like this that I didn't do before, and then I notice, I feel a lot better. I'm not getting as upset as much. Well, then that's what I'm supposed to be doing, and that's kind of God guiding me in the right direction. I think step 5 not only kind of rips open the curtain and lays ourselves bare. It's the first real look that we have at ourselves from a self-awareness standpoint, and that leads up to character defects and identifying those defects and then asking God to remove them, right? So not only do we have the introduction to a real and thorough self-awareness, but then we also have an introduction into a way out and a way that we can grab more data points. Because if we do another 5th step, we talk again about who are we resentful at and why and what did we have to do with it. So that's another way that we can continually improve our sobriety. Step 5 provided me with a feeling of belonging and humility and serenity when I practiced it in my daily living. It was important to admit my defects of character to God, to ourselves, and to another human being. I've never really thought about it that way, and I know I've read it that way. I've heard it read that way. To God, to ourselves, and to another human being. To God, which is an admission of our character defects, but also an admission that we can't get rid of them by ourselves. We need God. And then to another human being. And it's amazing when we say things out loud, how quickly they lose their power. But it also humanizes us and, again, deflates that ego, at least in my case. Feeling of being at one with God and my fellow man. Well, there's shared adversity there when you talk to another man about it. There's a certain unspoken understanding of admitting that we do things wrong and we need God to remove them, and we're all in this same boat together. Very good one. If you're not sober, please go to a meeting, find a sponsor. If you are sober, please go to a meeting and find a sponsor. Like and subscribe if you want to. Thanks for watching.